Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here. It's Smirking Good Reviews, and it's Wednesday still, so it's still new comic book day, and we're talking about what is arguably, for me, like the single best non-X book out there, despite the step backwards it kind of took in issue 25, where it got a little too weird for a lot of people. Like I said before, I stand by what I think and other people have said, that it should have been an annual. It's fine. It just shouldn't have been a number 25. It felt out of place in the universe that Al Ewing story was being told. It had a couple of moments. It wasn't bad. I liked it. It just didn't feel like, it just kind of felt like the record skipped. This, on the other hand, Immortal Hulk number 26, we're back to frickin' form. I mean, really, we really are. We're not in a really horror territory, but we are back to the telling of the story that we're on. This would have made a better 25 because of Bruce Banner's manifesto. What's going on further now that they've taken over the Shadow Base from 14 and everything else, and what the Hulk and Banner are letting the world know. And it's very confusing for a lot of people in the world. It's making a lot of people scared. Some people it's not bothering so much. The Avengers just kind of go, we're looking into it. So let's jump into Immortal Hulk number 25, which starts with that stony law I stamped to dust, and scatter religion abroad. To the four winds is a torn book, and none shall gather the leaves. This is William Blake, America, a Prophecy. Yeah, so he's destroying everything. And Bruce is here on his kind of crazy throne. It reminds me of the whole thing with Professor Hulk and way back then, a little bit, where he was dealing with Agamemnon and all those people. So he's giving his manifesto about the government here. Like, people were hired to make me, take pieces of me and use me as a weapon and all this stuff, and they were taking billions of dollars, and it could have gone for anything else, education. But hey, this is the world, right? This is the world we're living in, the human world. And he gets like, let's talk about the human world, and we kind of go back and forth. There's the manifesto time, and then there's post manifesto time, and we get the return of. Look, I when I first heard about this character, I feel like a lot of people really liked him, and that's fine. But I don't care for Amadeus Cho. I don't really. I think that Al Ewing here, though, writes him in a way that I'm comfortable with the character in this book. Because he's there's no getting around it, He's not going away. And so I do like the writing that, how he's written here. But I like how Bruce is just... this is this kid coming in with his stupid little frickin' hipster... This is just me. But I see Amadeus Cho walking in like, I'm the Hulk, the millennial Hulk, man. Like, get out of here. You've been the Hulk for all of 2 seconds, man. And I know Amadeus Cho, of course, he's one of the smartest people on the planet, right? So you gotta listen to him. But I like that Banner just basically puts him in his place this whole time, in my opinion. See, I feel like Banner's putting him in his place. Maybe you disagree. Maybe that Banner's trying to put him in his place and you disagree. But for me, I'm all on board here with what Banner's saying, because a lot of what he's saying makes sense. Now, also, you could say that some of the things that Thanos says make sense. But it doesn't change the fact that he's crazy. This is along those lines a little bit, as far as saving the world from itself kind of thing, like Thanos thinks he's doing to the universe. But this is my planet. And I know this is fictional, but he's not wrong with the things he's talking about with the rich. Basically, we're going to get all to it, but and I don't mean all rich, but he's like, I saw your little pirate broadcast, and you think you still play Minecraft on peaceful, and he's like, I don't think we have much time anymore for playing games. The royal we know I had my own brush with Hulk syndrome, and he's like asking him what the hell is he doing, and we get kind of the talking heads situation of everybody's different perspectives from exaggerated to the, is your baby, God, does your baby have Hulk syndrome? Like, it's just typical the way it goes. Next group of bit of the story we have is Doc Samson talking to the girl that was left behind, that was working with 14, but now she's basically, she was going to go to jail, and now she's kind of taking the lesser of two, like she's trying to stay out of jail, really. And they all want to study Banner, so it's like a win-win for her. I still wouldn't trust her any further than I can throw her. But she's talking about the promise of, what could be done. That they could cure Rick Jones. They could give the radioactive-looking man, like, his life back. But she says she believes in Bruce Banner. And they're going to take that money that was given to the Shadow Base, even though they're down to about $300 million because they spent a lot, and they're going to use it to try to help. But that's what everybody says before it all hits the fan, right? And we get more talking heads where Rick Jones is like, floating over people, and now there's people already like throwing freaking tear gas and stuff, and they bring up the person who was the head of this, who's wanted for her part in the role of this, the Charlene McGowan, a convicted drug dealer and manufacturer. So, she's that's I'm trying to get a name here. Well, they talk about in that Doc Samson thing, they talk about the dissociative identity disorder, and that Amadeus Cho already had it when he became the Hulk. Or I mean, Bruce already had it before he became the Hulk. So they're trying to, like, Hulk syndrome is basically something he says that Amadeus Cho is making, made up his own word for it. And that they're asking if gamma transfer reflects the mental condition of the gamma donor. But he's like, he's like being more optimistic, he's not disagreeing with Amadeus Cho, but he's also not quite agreeing with it. And so the more Amadeus kind of pushes him, like, hey, what happened to the guy who was running Shadow Base? Okay, well, if I die, do I stay dead? And he's like, well, hey, man, probably shouldn't try it, because, just because it happened to me doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. And then asking about the reporter and whose friend is it, and it's really the Hulk's friend. And he even brings up that the Green Scar and Professor Hulk are dormant. And Amadeus Cho has a point here. I will give him that. All right, they write him as like, well, the two most heroic Hulks are the ones that are dormant right now. Doesn't that kind of give you a little heads up of like what part of your personality is telling you? And he's like, well, the world can't be saved, huh, Amadeus? Not the human world. Not the world as we currently understand it. Earth's climate is changing rapidly. The world humans built is not sustainable. But there's still short-term profit to be made, so the same systems are allowed to continue over all our dead bodies if need be. And I couldn't agree more with that statement. They are going to run it all into the ground. And the few people that can afford to live outside this, and I'm not talking even in my lifetime, but if things continue the way it is absolutely true. Over all our dead bodies, you're damn right these corporations will. They do not care about us at all. I'm not trying to get too political or whatever. It's just, read the writing on the wall, man. Nothing ever changes because it's, we're affecting the bottom line. And the bottom line is, as long as they're at the top and surviving because they feel like they deserve it because they're doing it, there's no consequences, so they just keep doing it. And, Cho's like, well, we still live in an age of hope and heroes, and Bruce is like, nah, I don't believe that shit no more. And he talks about status quo, and how Reed, Richards, and Stark, and they're all great technologists, but when it comes to green technologies, they can't break, nothing seems to take. But Wakanda's far ahead, Krakoa has possibilities, but the world doesn't want to know about either. When things get bad, I suspect they'll leave the rest of us to our mess. And I know there are the young people, and you all... he's doing this while he's talking about it. I love that. And I know there are the young people, and you do give me hope, some hope, but you won't change anything either. None of you will. Not unless what is stopping you is removed. And he's like, look, I can't build what needs to be built, but I can smash what needs to be smashed. And he's starting to turn green here in that bottom middle panel, where he's starting to turn green a little bit. You can see it under his eyes, and I like that he's angry. He sees the world and he's angry about it. So we can probably say that, like, when he says he wants to end the world, he means what he's saying here. That the intention wasn't what we saw in number 25. But that's a possibility. But then it's like, well, they send that thing back, and then it's, yeah. That was another thing about that, is that it's automatically something is back to just change to make sure that this doesn't happen, and so did it really. We got people talking about there's a senator who publicly denied reports of the Hulk funding, and then he just, before they can even get any further, it's just like, oh, this just in, that senator resigned. And we get it from the reporter's point of view, and her boss and everybody, and talking about that she had a part in it, and they all want, like, Spider-Man is in New York, Arizona has the Hulk, and they ask her the questions like, hey, you were with him. You were down there with him, and now, like, so how deeply entrenched were you in all of this? And she's like, hey, it was part of my plan. And they're like, yeah, probably shouldn't be saying that anywhere else. And it's true. But I just love that, of course, they asked that question. Like, she was there. They didn't ask, like, hey, are you okay? The first thing they say is, what was your level of involvement? So they talk about, Bruce continues to talk about disaster capitalism. Catastrophes create opportunities for ruthless people to profit from them, economically or politically, and when the main means of profit is itself creating the catastrophe, runaway climate change, with all the resultant political instability it brings, we're left with a feedback loop, disaster by design. The human world is a world that destroys itself and all who try to live in it, to make money for a tiny percentage of those in charge. That's absolutely true, in my opinion. You always got to do that, because then somebody's going to, like, be all, yeah. Well, they could still do it, and I don't give a crap. It's your right to your opinion. I've got my right to mine. And that is the world that needs to end, and I can't end it alone. I'm never alone, am I? And so we get the finish up of Cho and him talking, and he just keeps going, like, what's the plan here? Gonna break everything. And he's like, well, the Hulk is a big blunt instrument. If it's going to be used, it needs to be carefully targeted, and I think it should be. And he's talking about going after corporations, certain corporations, and smashing them. And he says, but one of these entities and make them actually pay. What if you never stopped? And his eyes go green. His eyes go full on Bill Bixby in the beginning credits of Incredible Hulk there in the panel. Down there. Yeah, I just, like, killed the valuability of my book right there. Right here. And then Cho puts on his little hipster knit hat and leaves and says, hey, I still trust you. I'm not a Hulk anymore, blah, blah, blah. I know, maybe you guys are thinking I'm dismissing Amadeus Cho outright, and I kind of am. Because I've just been waiting for this guy to try to put his 2 cents into this book. But I mean, I guess, he is a kind of a reasonable person. And they needed somebody reasonable to bounce off of that Banner might kind of listen to. But the thing is, like, he's not interested in that. And he's the voice of the young, and Banner telling him, like, you don't understand. You're freaking a kid, basically. And you have all these things that you think you can do, but you just, at this point, you just can't. It's too far gone. And then we get the weirdest thing in the book. And he's like talking to this waitress, apron and all, asking if I lost temper all the time. And it turns out to be friggin' Namor is the waitress or waiter, whatever. And he's there working with Bruce. Working. As anybody can work with Namor, right? And he's like, well, I don't think Amadeus would have reacted well if he thought we were a team. We've never been quite a team, Doctor, but we've always been an excellent non-team. And he's like, yeah, this reminds me of the old days. They used to be on the Defenders together. Um, yeah. And I don't go for all that flowery talk, but I hate humans too. And he goes, spoken like a true Hulk. Now, let me give you my advice. And they go to this, like, if there are no meaningful consequences for those who would use their power to engineer and profit from disaster, then we will create some. And you're going to hear about us targeting someone and going on a Hulk rampage and declaring war. And it goes to Roxxon, because of course it is. Roxxon is the big thing. And we see that after like a little bit of a hiatus, old friggin' Dario Agger is back, but now he's not hiding who he is anymore. So even though we know where Hulk's going, he's got this guy, this Agger guy, who's like the kind of the face in Marvel Comics for corporate greed and evil, and he's now calling himself the Minotaur, which is a little, little silly. I mean, the cover for the next issue looks pretty dope, if you can see it there a little bit. More Alex Ross covers, you know. I'm always down for more Alex Ross covers. And yeah, so I don't know, man. This was back to form. I'm so happy that it gets back to the way it was. I mean, we're not in any horror. We might be a little bit out of the horror part of this book. We might be more into some more things that... This might make some people that like that arc leave. But let's not just... I'm not going to say that we're done with that aspect. It just feels like the wind is changing in the Immortal Hulk words, and we're moving on to other things now. Which is going after the Roxxon Corporation and making corporations have consequences for destroying the world. Smash what we can smash. So, anyway. Fantastic. I love it. I love the Immortal Hulk. Anyway, I don't know if you guys do as much as I do, but I dig it so much. So if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Join us. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. We're like just under 50 subscribers. Keep reading comics. Go to your mortar stores. Support other comic book people on YouTube like Thinking Critical, Ash on Comics, Comics by Perch, Real Comic Book Stacks. I'm forgetting. I always forget more of these people. I get those like 3-4 people. I'd say somebody else, but you lost my trust, buddy. You lost my trust, Mr. Big Time. Sorry. That was... It's the same... Okay, let's just... Without saying who it is, it's the person who said the comic book stores maybe shouldn't be a thing anymore. So, anyway. This is Rob Zane. Have a great day. We're going to be back with Old Man Quill, number 11, Batman number 82, and later on this week we're going to have Daredevil number 13, because I didn't get it in my subscription. I think I accidentally canceled that. So, and that's stupid of me. So, have a great night, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.